Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. It is Tuesday. Yesterday was, of course, Memorial Day. I hope that you guys enjoyed your time and remembered why we celebrate, which, there are some members of the House that don't quite understand that. We'll get to that here in a bit, along with all things Donald Trump trial, the Libertarian Party nominating some weirdo. Like, they have the opportunity to just be normal, and they can't do it. They can't seem to do it. But first, I wanted to just number one, I don't know if other states are having runoffs right now, but right now, Texas has a runoff. Today is election day, and if you are watching this during its premiere at 6 p.m., if you have not voted yet, turn this off right now. It's going to be like the only time that I tell you to turn this program off, hit pause, go vote if you have a runoff going on in your district, okay? And you can go to truetexasproject.com, use their voters guide. They've got a great voter guide for all of the grassroots candidates. Let's make sure to get the rest of those rhinos out of office. On that note, I, of course, was gone Friday because I was spending time at the Texas GOP convention. And so I was there both, of course, as a podcaster for the Scorecard series that I'm doing with Texas, which you guys should check out here on my YouTube channel if you're watching it on my YouTube channel. If you are not, you can find it on my YouTube channel, Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. But I was also there as a delegate, and it was a very interesting experience. I can tell you this. I think that the Texas grassroots has been awakened. I think that the establishment overplayed their hand. And I think that we're going to take Texas back. And I feel really, really optimistic about that. And I had the lovely opportunity to meet Senator John Cornyn, who decided it would be a good idea to go to the Texas GOP convention where all of the grassroots activists are, okay? Emphasis on the grassroots. So do you think that he's walking into friendly territory? Well, I'll let you decide. Here was my experience introducing myself to John Cornyn over the weekend. Watch. We are ashamed that you are our senator in Texas. Hi, Senator Sara Gonzales. Hi, I was just wondering why you keep voting to send our money to Ukraine.
Well, because I think it's in our national security and to help them defend themselves.
I may not get it in
Americans are starving right now, and you guys are sending our tax money to Ukraine. Well, we have our own problems to deal with.
You want a World War III or
Hey, why did you call Ken Paxton a criminal? Senator, why did you call Ken Paxton a criminal?
Basketball thing over here. Why is he here?
You can't answer? Nothing to say?
All right, guys, what's this one about up here? Can you explain to him what she does?
I'm a constituent. I'm asking a question. Security trying to box me out as usual.
Okay. Come on, step up. You can.
Why did you call Ken Paxton a criminal, Senator?
Hey, here we go. Do I get a prize?
Can you stop touching me, please? Thank you. He was touching. His butt was
Come on, give her access. What the hell?
Come on, Senator. Why can't you answer?
There are more J6ers from Texas than any other.
Why are you refusing to address the J6ers, Senator?
Hey, honey.
Why is he refusing to address the J6ers? Here, I get back up.
Yeah, absolutely.
MIA.
Ask him.
Ask him.
You're a rhino, Cronin.
Why aren't you helping them?
We have people
Yeah, security,
rotting in
don't
prison.
worry
You
about
don't seem to
You're a
care.
rhino.
What did you think was going to happen when you came in the exhibit hall?
I'm a constituent.
Thank
Get a
you.
quick photo over here? Rhino piece of What a loser.
Senator, we're your constituents.
He's a piece of
Senator Cornyn doesn't want to answer to his constituents why he's sending more money to Ukraine, why he is not voting to secure the border, why he called Ken Paxton a criminal, and why he does nothing for the J6ers. Nothing.
What are you doing about the J6?
We are ashamed that you are our senator in Texas. That man next to me went so hard immediately. He's like, what are we doing? Oh, I'm in. You rhino piece of shit. So good. So again, this man is just the worst for the state of Texas. And he walks into this convention like he is not going to be held accountable by the grassroots activists who are just disgusted by him. 2 years ago, the man got booed at the convention. So I don't know what he thought was going to happen because he's just gotten even slimier since then. But I'm telling you guys, there is a movement brewing. More people are speaking out. You heard there were several people who joined in with me. More people are getting brave to speak out and hold these people accountable. And it would be one thing if he were sitting down with his family to dinner. He showed up at our convention. So I think that the more people that we can get doing this, it will be all the better because they're not used to being held accountable. So I want to play one more moment from the GOP convention and just a little clip of my interview with, I covered the bad guys. Let me cover the good guy. Okay. I sat down and did an exclusive interview with Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, and we talked a lot. We talked a lot about that man that I just confronted, John Cornyn, and whether or not we might have a primary challenger for him next time around. You're going to have to watch the full episode to hear what the answer was. But here is a little bit of myself and Ken Paxton reflecting on the fact that yesterday marked the 1-year anniversary of the House attempt to impeach him. Watch. It feels like you've gone through hell and back, and somehow you're even stronger.
I honestly think that the impeachment ended up being a good thing for me. It ended up being a good thing for the state of Texas. The bad process, the lack of due process, highlighted to the voters of Texas, the Republican voters of Texas, the implicit problem and the explicit problem of the Texas House. It's created a momentum to finally change the House, which has been corrupt and which has not listened to the voters of Texas, has not listened to the Republican voters. In some ways, it's been the greatest blessing of my life to go and highlight and now have an opportunity to change this disaster in the Texas House that Dade Phelan has led for the last several years.
So again, the last reminder I'm going to give you, if you have not voted and you live in Texas and you are in a district with a runoff, we have the opportunity to remove Dade Phelan from the Texas House, not just as Speaker of the House, from the Texas House today, tonight. Vote for David Covey. Vote for Andy Hopper. Vote for Brandon Herrera. There are a lot of runoffs going on. Make sure if you live there, you are participating in the runoff. Go to truetexasproject.com to get a voter guide. Yesterday, Memorial Day, of course, the day that we honor the fallen, right? Those who were in military, who lost their lives, who gave their lives, who sacrificed their lives so that we could live free. And by the way, it was a terrible day in Texas if you are one of the many who are now without power from all of the storms last night. That'd be me. We haven't had power since about 5:30 this morning. No power. Our fence is down. There were telephone poles that were split in two right in front of our subdivision. So crazy stuff going on here in the state of Texas. But Ilhan Omar and Cori Bush, good old squad members, Omar and Bush, are just so ignorant. And, I use the word ignorant. I should just use the word stupid. They are so dumb that they don't even understand the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. And the thing is I still don't think it's cool when it's a regular person, just an average person who makes that mistake. I still feel gross about it. I still feel like our education system is failing you. But it makes it all the more disgusting and obnoxious when it is someone who has claimed, they put their hand on the Bible, they swear an oath to this country. They should, at the very least, recognize the difference between our holidays for our military members. Recognize the difference between, it's very clear, it's in the name, right? Memorial Day. Why do we have to remember, which is the root of memorial? Why do we have to remember? Because they're no longer with us. And you have these morons in Congress creating laws for our country who don't even understand the difference of our holidays for our military members. So, this genius, Ilhan Omar, posted on X, on Memorial Day, we honor the heroic men and women who served our country. And she said, we owe them more than our gratitude. They have more than earned access to, quality mental health services, job opportunities, housing assistance, and the benefits they were promised. Well, there's only one problem with that, Ilhan. They're dead. I'm not sure that they are going to get any job opportunities or housing assistance or the benefits they were promised because they lost their lives for us. So just a basic, like knowledge that probably you should know. Cori Bush, similarly. This Memorial Day and every day, we honor our veterans in St. Louis. We must invest in universal health care, affordable housing, comprehensive mental health services, and educational and economic opportunities for our veterans as we work to build a war free of war and violence. Again, not only are these people just absolutely stupid, I mean, just like shit for brains, they also can't waste an opportunity to push for all of their communist ideas and platforms, right? Like they can't just say, even if they got it wrong, they can't just say like, we love our veterans, we support our veterans. They have to bring up universal health care. They have to bring up affordable housing. What the hell is that? Nobody knows. Just like a minimum wage. Okay, so what is minimum? You want to do $100 an hour? What is it? We don't know. What is it cost to live in this country? I don't know. It depends on what your priorities are. Comprehensive mental health services, educational and economic opportunities. They never waste an opportunity to push their radical communist agenda. Except this time, they were so stupid, they didn't even recognize that it was a completely different day than they were talking about. So, of course, those tweets went poof, deleted. Nowhere to be found anymore. Of course, screenshots live forever. Sorry, not sorry. And, I think they posted some stupid follow-ups that were like, oh, no, thank you. We honor those who were fallen. We definitely knew what Memorial Day was. We didn't screw that up. No, we saw it. We already saw it. Here's Ilhan Omar. Let's say thank you to the brave men and women who selflessly sacrificed their lives in service to our country. And no, you already screwed it up. We already saw you screw it up. So that's the state of, or I should say that's the caliber of the people that we are sending to Congress. And I that's a general we, because I didn't do it. And you guys didn't do it if you watch this show. But that's how easy it is to get into Congress. We've got squad members who know jack shit about this country, about why this country was founded, about the values of the founding fathers who founded this country, about the importance of our founding documents, and of course, about why we have Memorial Day and what its purpose is. It's just disgusting. All right, when we come back, I'm going to bring in the panel and we are going to talk all things Trump trial. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Preborn. So look, Preborn is just an amazing, amazing ministry to partner with. And, I talk about all of those buzzwords that these, Ilhan Omar and Cori Bush were talking about. One of those buzzwords that they usually use is reproductive health care, which is anything but healthcare. It's actually they want the right to kill babies just unconditionally. And Preborn is fighting against this. And here's how they're doing it. They work with this network of clinics who oftentimes they're stationed right next to these Planned Parenthoods that are obviously doing unspeakable things every single day. What Preborn does when a woman walks into their clinic, they're scared. They don't know what they're going to do. They have no idea, and the left has lied to them. All Preborn does is show them the truth. That's all they do. They let them listen to their baby's heartbeat and they show them their baby on the ultrasound. And oftentimes the women that go in there and see the truth are twice as likely to choose life. They need your help though. It's $28 for an ultrasound. They do all of this for free to the woman, okay? And they're saving babies' lives. $28 is the cost of an ultrasound. How many babies' lives can you save? Please do so by going to preborn.com/Sarah. That is preborn.com/Sarah. All right, I want to welcome to the program Jaco Booyen's BlazeTV contributor and also host of The Bottom Line, along with his first time on the program, Jeremy Carl. He is a senior fellow at the Claremont Institute, also the author of The Unprotected Class, which I am in the middle of reading, How Anti-White Racism is Tearing America Apart. A book that is so needed at this time. It's so true. It's funny, actually. I'll tell you, Jeremy, really quickly. I had, because I'm not all the way through your book, but I have been navigating through it, and I had it on the counter, and My husband said, "Oh, wow, our babysitter was there. Our babysitter is like super based because she's reading that. I saw this book that was out on the counter, and I was like, that's mine. Sorry."
If only.
That's good. I'll have to use that in future marketing materials. For sure.
Like,
Find a babysitter.
I mean, I can let her borrow it when I'm done with it and see what she thinks about it. She may care too, but I appreciate you joining us today along for the ride here. And I want to talk more about your book here in a little bit, but I want to start here with the jury is about to go into deliberation for this Stormy Daniels hush money trial case. And I only call it that so that people understand, because there are so many cases going on. It is, of course, not technically a hush money case. The money that was paid, first of all, still hasn't been proven to be tied to Trump. But second of all, was not an illegal payment in and of itself. So I want to make that clear. But I want to play first. This morning, the Biden campaign thought that it would be a good idea to stage a press conference outside of the courtroom where the closing arguments were set to begin earlier this morning. And they brought in Robert De Niro, which I don't know why I'm supposed to care about what Robert De Niro has to say about this case. They brought in two former Capitol Police officers from, January 6th, Harry Dunn, who, by the way, is a known perjurer and ran a failed congressional campaign in Maryland, and Michael Fanone. And I want to play some of this. So I'm going to play a little. Here's some of the highlights or lowlights, as it were, of Robert De Niro and Harry Dunn, and then, of course, one of the campaign spokesmen for Joe Biden. Watch.
Under Trump, this kind of government will perish from the earth. I don't mean to scare you.
Yes, you do.
Maybe I do mean to scare you. If Trump returns to the White House, you can kiss these freedoms goodbye that we all take for granted.
Oh.
And elections, forget about it.
Right.
That's over. That's done. If he gets in, I can tell you right now, he will never leave. He will never leave. You know that.
Do we?
He will never leave. And that's why I've joined the Biden-Harris campaign, because the only way to preserve our freedoms and hold on to our humanity is to vote for Joe Biden for president.
Props to the car alarm.
We don't have a choice.
The fight for a lot of us didn't end on January 6th, that evening when we went home. The fight still continues now. What happened that day
You're a liar.
was an attempt to overthrow an election.
You are a liar.
Donald Trump is the greatest threat to our democracy and the safety of communities across the country today. He has encouraged and continued to encourage political violence.
That's a lie.
We've been called traitors just today. We were all called traitors on January 6th for doing our job.
Well,
and yes, we protected Republicans. We protected Democrats alike. It's not about the story that we don't agree with. Political violence is never acceptable. But you have a presidential candidate. You have a presidential candidate that champions it, that encourages it,
Joe Biden?
that supports it. We cannot have that.
First of all, let me say this first and foremost. We're not here today because of what's going on over there. We're here today because you all are here.
You guys hear him being
and so we are glad that you're all here this morning. We're here primarily because of the threat that Donald Trump poses to the United States of America and to our democracy.
But it's not about what's going on over there.
Right. It's about the threat that Donald Trump poses to our democracy. But don't worry, the 91 indictments, definitely not to prevent him from becoming president again or to prevent him from campaigning, right? It's just that we just keep hearing that he's this threat to democracy and we can't have Donald Trump. Well, what about justice in this case? It almost seems like no one on the left even cares about that.
Do you see Robert or Bob De Niro on The View just get his hat handed to him?
No.
Didn't know what to say by someone of Middle Eastern descent who said, you're a failed actor, you're a washed up actor. Why should we listen to you? What do you know about politics?
Oh, I love that.
No, it was beautiful. Look, what a joke. Of course they'll pull Robert De Niro. It's the true deplorables that'll stand there. And that press conference was about as dismal as a Joe Biden campaign trail. Remember when in COVID we had, was it Kia? The cars they sat in, they were flashing the lights because there was nobody, like at a movie theater.
Oh, yeah.
That whole scene?
Yeah.
Look, this is serious. They say things, but they mean what they say. When he says he'll never leave the White House, he was there and he left.
Right.
And there's an end to all of our lives. So at some point he'll leave.
That'd be great.
So these grandiose terms, he'll never leave. It's scare tactics, and unfortunately, some Americans buy it. But I think this time around, David Harris Jr. just tweeted something out, and he said, if they jail Trump, or maybe it's DC Drano and David Harris retweeted it. If they jail Trump, it's a landslide victory more than what we saw with Reagan. Every time they double down on this guy, actually works in his favor.
Yeah, I think the Democrats are kind of high on their own supply here. It's sort of interesting to kind of watch what's going on, and I just don't think that this is resonating with the average American. Right. And it feels extreme. It looks extreme.
It is extreme.
It is extreme. And Robert De Niro has been around. I mean, he's the sort of person who's nobody under 40 knows who Robert De Niro is, for better or worse. And it's just they're really desperate, and nobody's having that reality conversation with them that they got to, pull back. It's not working.
Yeah, the first thing I thought when I watched the Robert De Niro press conference was I was like, there are 0 people alive that were like, I was on the fence about voting for Joe Biden, and then I heard that Robert De Niro told me to, and now I'm definitely voting for Joe Biden. Like, that happened to literally 0 people. Nobody had that reaction, especially when they use all of these, hyperbolic terms. Yeah. And I can't help but also think, he talked about, there will never be another election again. Hold on. Are we against pausing elections in a country because Ukraine just did that? And that's okay for Zelensky to do, and we can just funnel him all of our money. But now all of a sudden they want to take a hard stand against that. Now, again, I'm not saying that would be great. I'm just saying let's have some objectivity here. Let's have a standard and hold ourselves and others to that same standard. They can't do it because, again, of course, it's not about any ideals or morals or anything with them. It's just the ends justifies the means. So I want to bring up one more point in this. As we talk about this trial and as we talk about all of the hoops that these prosecutors have to jump through in order to try to say that there was a felony committed, in order to go against the statute of limitations for the misdemeanor that they claim was committed, right? There are all of these hoops that they had to jump through. Remember, the FEC didn't want to take up the case. The DOJ didn't want to take up the case. You think that they raided Mar-a-Lago. You think that they wouldn't have been chomping at the bit to take up a case if they thought that they could actually get a conviction? They didn't take the case. So remember, New York City was able to twist and turn this into a felony because they say that there is a second crime there, right? Like there has to be a predicate crime to find Trump guilty of the felony charges. And so they elevated the 34 counts of falsifying business records from misdemeanors to felonies by saying, well, there was a second crime that was committed. Well, here's what the judge ruled today. The prosecutors suggested 4 possible predicate crimes, and there were a couple, I think at least one that was ruled out before the trial. So they had tax crimes and violations of federal or state election law, but they never zeroed in on which one they specifically allege that Donald Trump committed. The judge ruled that the jury does not have to agree on the specific second crime in order to find Trump guilty on this trial.
Yeah, now we're just going to throw jury law, jury governance. Everything is thrown out. If you want to know how you break a country, you vote for Joe Biden. That's how you break a country. Look, please check me on this, but it is reported that Secret Service, Donald Trump's Secret Service, had met with the jail and the system to prepare potentially. And I think that's due diligence, and that's their job.
Yeah.
It's due diligence. I don't think that signals some sort of an outcome. So I just want people to know, don't just assume that means Donald Trump is being jailed. That's just due diligence by Secret Service because they do not want to be caught by surprise. But that does tell you that they do expect the Biden administration to absolutely abandon the Constitution of the United States at all costs, run a banana republic, and jail your opponent.
Yeah. I mean, it's just absurd, Jeremy. Like, they didn't prove or show evidence of any of these, alleged second crimes. And then the jury doesn't even have to say, okay, we're focusing in on this one. It could just be like, well, they can just, play pin the tail on the donkey and point. And if they're closest to it, they win a prize. Like, it's absurd to me that you would think, going back to our original commentary on this, you would think that the average American understand, like they can see this, right? I mean, it's so absurd. Surely someone who, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not well-versed in law, but even I can look at this and go, this is total bullshit. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think the facts, it sort of amuses me to see a lot of the coverage, even on our side, as if the facts and law really matter here.
Right.
I don't think they do at all.
No.
I think the whole thing was absurd from moment one. And again, even if you didn't like Donald Trump, I think it was absurd from moment one. And it's just a question of whether there was like a Trump supporter or at least a Trump agnostic person who somehow got on that jury. That's going to be the only thing that determines. If that jury is all Biden voters, which is totally plausible in New York, we're going to get a guilty verdict, and the facts and logic and evidence have no.
But to the point, we discussed this last week quite a bit. All we need is one juror, right?
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
But if the jury doesn't have to agree,
Right.
Yeah.
They don't even have to
what does it
agree on the
matter?
second crime.
Yeah.
what does it matter if
Right.
we have a juror, 2, 3 jurors that go, you know what? And you're seeing this judge oversight, overreach of judges across this country.
Yeah.
Governor of a state signs a mandate and signs a declaration. A judge goes, you know what? Abolishing, drag shows for kids. Mm-hmm. Judge goes, First Amendment violation. I'm overruling the governor. Just unilaterally. So you see judges with gross overreach. When it is a jury trial, that's super concerning for our country, for the state of the nation, for the rule of law. I mean, it's like it's the rule of law is now as fluid as their alphabet gender identification.
I mean, it really does seem to be, because, you think about the mantra innocent until proven guilty. How can you possibly say that that is the case here when they have not proven any sort of guilt for, I would argue, the misdemeanors? But if you want to, let's just set that one aside. They have not even argued, they have not proven guilt of a second crime. The jury is just supposed to guess and check. Like, that is so counterintuitive to how this country was founded. The judicial system supposed to be, a checks and balances type thing. And now it's not at all. It's just activism from the bench. It's just so worrisome to see playing out. And I will say this, to your point, Yaku. The only reason that I have a little bit of hope with the jurors in this, it's not that I think that any of them are Trump supporters at all. I don't. But I also don't think that CNN or MSNBC are fond of Trump. And I think that they would love to be bad-mouthing him every chance that they get. And we have seen way too many clips of those commentators just railing against the prosecution for doing such a piss poor job, railing against their star witness, Michael Cohen, for being, just completely not credible. And so I keep thinking, if even CNN and MSNBC can muster the strength to say this is a BS case, maybe there's hope for at least 1 or 2 jurors.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see. All right, one more thing here that I want to bring up in regard to Donald Trump. Get your thoughts on this, gentlemen. So apparently, Donald Trump earlier this month promised donors that he would, in regard to all of the anti-Israel encampments that are popping up across the country at these universities, he said, one thing I do, any student that protests, I throw them out of the country. There are a lot of, so he meant the foreign students. There are a lot of foreign students. As soon as they hear that, they're going to behave. So he says if these are foreign students who are here on some sort of, student visa, that he's just going to ship them back. I say, great. Let's get to
all within his right. The F1 visa is the student visa. Mm-hmm. That F1 visa has very strict stipulations. I mean, they can't work. By the way, all that is gone. They do whatever they want to do under CBP1 and Joe Biden. But the F1 visa, according to the immigration law, which passed the Congress, right? He's got all the right. If there's so many violations happening at the moment by these students that it's not even a stretch.
Yeah.
It's just going to make the law applicable. And by the way, the actual law.
Right.
Not this quasi-law that they want to apply to him.
Right.
The law says if you do XYZ as an F1 student visa holder, you're out.
Oh, Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Like, it's great. I mean, obviously, these student protesters are idiots at best, and I don't like them. I think, for me, like, with all the Middle East stuff, and maybe it's just because I'm off in the middle of nowhere in Montana, but, like, I resent having to talk about it so much because it's like our border's wide open.
Yes,
We've got fentanyl. We've got all these, like, problems. I'm sympathetic with where the Israelis are, but it's just not in my top 50 issues that I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
And I'm frustrated that every day when I turn on the TV, like I'm forced to like have a really strong opinion about it.
Yeah. I agree with you there. All right, let's go ahead. We got to take a quick break. We will be back with more. I want to talk to you guys about the new Libertarian Party nominee. Whew, that one's a doozy. First, I want to remind you guys, you can go to shopblazemedia.com. You can get a Sara Gonzales Unfiltered hoodie or a mug if you'd like. But we've got, point is, if you don't want Sara Gonzales Unfiltered plastered all over your shirt, you can also go and find all of this, liberty loving. There's some of that American legend with Donald Trump. We've got a lot of cool stuff over there at shopblazemedia.com. You can use promo code Sarah10 to get 10% off of your order. That is shopblazemedia.com, promo code Sarah10. Oh, in probably what is the most Libertarian Party move ever, the Libertarian Party chose its nominee for president following its convention, who, by the way, they booed at Donald Trump. Okay, Donald Trump appeared. He, attempted to sway them to vote for him. And honestly, I think that actually might have a good chance of happening after the regular Libertarians see who the Libertarian Convention nominated as their candidate for president, Chase Oliver. This is a gay man who has a history of leftist positions and supports open borders, supports drag queen story hour for children, supports vaccine mandates, supports mask mandates, supports the sterilization of children with puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones. This is not what I consider libertarian. Like if I had Eric July on here right now.
Oh, he would go nuts. He is going nuts.
That is so not libertarian at all. So I want to play the new Libertarian nominee for president, Chase Oliver, talking about listen, drag queen story time hour. It's innocent. It's just like the Wiggles. Watch.
Why do you think that the drag queens want to read to children?
Because I think that they are performance artists and they want to be able to have different levels of performance art. It's the same reason as why do the Wiggles sing to children? Because they want to have a marketplace to kids.
Chase,
they want to be able to.
The Wiggles is made for children. It's obviously family friendly material. Drag queens are not what you call family friendly kind of entertainment.
Okay, but a man in a dress is what drag is, right? Let's just be real. A man in a dress or a woman in a suit is what drag is. Mm-hmm. That is not inherently sexual. There is inherently sexual drag. And you're not going to convince me. I'm not going to defend otherwise. There absolutely is. But there's also the ability to perform as a man in a wig without being sexual. And that is what this is. I guarantee you, if you act like I said, I went for myself because I was like, why are there people protesting this thing? I want to see what this drag queen story time is myself, and I want to see what it is.
Okay, I've heard enough.
Nothing.
So just like the Wiggles, which is very strange. And by the way, we might lose you guys if you're on YouTube. I don't know the direction that this conversation is going to go, but if we do, you can catch the full episode on BlazeTV.com. So it's strange because I've actually also attended these drag queen events for children because I also wanted to see for my own eyes what took place at them. And I can tell you, Chase Oliver, I have not seen one single performance that is not sexually explicit and disgusting. So I've never seen on the Wiggles. No, I'm not a Wiggles connoisseur, okay? I'm not a Wiggles expert. So maybe I missed the episodes where they performed sexually in front of children, where they had sexually explicit songs playing in the background as they twerked in front of children with their rears hanging out facing the children. Did I miss that Wiggles episode? Did that happen? I would guess not. So obviously that's a terrible, terrible analogy. And then let me give you one more, gentlemen, and then I want to get your thoughts here. A post on X in February 2023, he was talking about the Mississippi law banning healthcare treatments, healthcare treatments for transgender children. And he wrote, his commentary was, "This is the government getting between parents and doctors providing medical care. The young people of Mississippi just had their choices limited by a legislature, not a physician or a mental health professional. That is wrong." I don't know, Chase. I would call wrong chopping healthy body parts off of children, off of minors. I would call it wrong to sterilize minors. I would call that wrong. I would call it wrong to allow to make decisions for their children that are irreversible. But hey, maybe my standards are just too high.
Look, Sarah, what you defend, you agree with. We defend the Second Amendment because we agree with it. We defend freedom of speech because we agree with it.
Yeah, this is sort of peak libertarian to me. I mean,
it really
it's
is.
just, I mean, I was sort of, again, surprised that all these people were on X being like, I can't believe the libertarians were so crazy to do this. I'm like, have you watched the Libertarian Party over the last half century? This is totally predictable that they would do.
On brand.
So it's completely on brand. And actually, I mean, I think the kind of strategy here was Trump was going there to show enough kind of respect that they wouldn't nominate RFK and get him on the ballot in all those states where they had it. I think he was successful in accomplishing that. I think that the more sane people in that party will maybe look at the nutso that they nominated and be like, well, at least Donald Trump showed up, Joe Biden didn't, and he'll kind of, maybe he'll get a few of their votes. And so I think it was a smart move for Trump to go there and do what he did. And the libertarians are kind of beyond saving, at least the capital L libertarians are.
Yeah.
What do you think RFK Jr. thinks of this? Rand Paul, the Eric July of the world. I mean,
there's no defense for it. There's no defense for it at all. I do feel bad for, again, the normal libertarians, which, I don't know how many of those there are. I think I know maybe a few of them who are like, guys, we just don't want government interference, but like, we can't be crazy. We're not crazy.
Right.
And, they get although I will say I did see a few of those who were like, yeah, I can't vote for this, so I guess I'm voting for Donald Trump.
Good.
Yeah.
So I think that this is the best case
bring all of them.
Scenario for Trump in this matter, because all of the normal people are going to go to Trump, and then I don't know, he might pull from Biden.
Yeah.
But I don't see him pulling from Trump at this point.
No, I don't think so. Not with those issue positions.
And to that point too, I don't see RFK the way that he's gone lately, especially with his stance on abortion up until the point of birth, late term abortion. I don't see him pulling that many votes, if at all, from Donald Trump. I see him pulling from Biden. So I feel like this is kind of a best case scenario for Donald Trump. At least you would hope so. Anyway, all right, let's go ahead, and we got to take a quick break, and we will be right back. So we have stories here all the time that we talk about. I can just recall this was a couple weeks ago, I interviewed a woman who is suing a very, very, it's like a mega law firm, very high-powered law firm, because one of their job postings said basically need not apply if you are white or heterosexual. I mean, it legitimately, the job posting was just like minorities only and also LGBTQ community only. And it was just so blatant, in your face. They're not even scared to say we're super racist against white people. And so good for her, she's suing. And I know the EEOC has given her the green light to sue, which they only do in like 2% of the cases. But that's how bad it's gotten, which I assume is part of the reason that you decided to write this book, The Unprotected Class, which of course is about how there's this anti-white racism that's just bubbling up to the surface here in this country. And it's not good, I would say, for the country.
Yeah, well, and I think that you hit on the key thing, which is for the country. I didn't just kind of write this as some sort of special plea on behalf of white people. I did it as an American because, and it was funny, I was talking about this with a really good Indian American friend of mine. He's like, at first I was like, well, I don't know why Jeremy's writing this book. It'll just cause him a lot of grief, and I'm not even sure what totally it has to do with me. But then he said, as I was kind of reading your argument, I really realized that it's not just white people who are going to be affected by kind of a bunch of racial animus being stirred up in a multi-ethnic democracy. And this does not often end well. And we have a lot of experience globally with that. So let's try to avoid that here in America.
Yeah. Speaking of global experience, Yaku,
Yeah, lived this. I mean, so I haven't read the book yet. I will now because I want to see the correlation. But having lived this saga all the way to having our national anthem removed, flag removed, and now 27 years later, looking at a nation saying, well, wait a second, this is not working. This experiment's not working. Normally, Jeremy, the pendulum swings and way overcorrects. Yeah. And sadly to say, those who perpetuate racism, true racism, which we say against white, are often the people groups that suffer the most. Like inner city black kids are going to suffer the most here. And so, no, it's going to backfire. My concern is if it does trend in the direction where South Africa has gone, it is not good. Yeah. You lose your identity as a nation. So I'm very excited to read the book. Thank you for writing it.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I'll just mention along those lines, you may not have seen, but today the South African Supreme Court ruled that kill the Boer, which is the sort of South African judge, is not hate speech. Yep. And yet
it's Julius Malema's song,
right, which is the slogan of kind of the guy who made. I mean, it's a historical song, but it is the slogan kind of the guy who may become the next prime minister. Right. Whereas in Germany, when these people were just films kind of saying foreigners out, Germany for Germans, these people are now being prosecuted. So really, these things just become a question of power, regardless of whether what you think about who's saying it or not. It's just a question of power who determines this. What's hate speech and not.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously this has been a resentment that has been brewing for some time now. I would argue that a lot of it was perpetuated when Obama became president, and he started perpetuating a lot of that. I feel like we were in a pretty good place when it came to lack of racial division before he came into office, and it felt like it was accelerated. But would you say that could you pinpoint a clear catalyst? Was it George Floyd? Was it Obama? I mean, because I know it was creeping in, but it feels like it just accelerated.
Yeah, so absolutely. We can look at the Pew social science research data, which is not some big, right-wing think tank or anything. Right. This is just standard public data that's gathered. It's right around the time of Obama's second inaugural. So maybe the brakes are off. He doesn't have to worry about running re-election. He ramps up the rhetoric. You get things like Hands Up, Don't Shoot in Missouri going on right around the time. You get Trayvon Martin in Florida, and things really accelerate, and they just become, you really see dramatic of what political scientists call asymmetric polarization. So conservatives kind of stayed the same on these issues, but liberals go way the heck off to the left. Right. And that's kind of the environment we are in. And when George Floyd happened, that just was on steroids.
It's a light. It's a light to a tank of gasoline. So already, I'll never forget, I was standing outside Belmont University, Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah. Obama was doing a speech week before his second term election. And I was standing outside watching this play down. I told my mother-in-law was there with me. I'm like, I just had a flashback. The tables are going to turn. You're going to see anti-white movement in this country. I felt it because I'd lived it before. Mm-hmm. And really, it is affirmative action. They can call it DEI, affirmative action, Truth and Reconciliation Commission of South Africa, all those things. In South Africa for the last 15 years, if you're white, in your equivalent of a 4.4, 4 point whatever GPA, don't even apply. Right. You're not getting a scholarship because of your skin color. You're not, we have quotas in our national sports teams.
Yeah.
Where there's quotas by ethnicity in a sports team.
Yeah.
That's about merit.
That's crazy.
But you can't play because you're this color. Yeah. Right? We're going to move in that direction of if you don't have guys who fake it as girls on your girls basketball team, you can't play because it doesn't end. It goes all the way. It bleeds. It erodes a culture in a society, and it breaks all the systems.
Absolutely. And the left has no limiting principle on this stuff. So it's not, they will never reach a point where they're like, okay.
That's right.
Well, we've reached this happy place. So we either have to, as I argue in my book, we have to stand up. We have enough to have self-respect, speaking as a white guy, to say, we are not going to let you treat us this way, period. It ends. And we have to have consequences for the left, political consequences for them speaking in this way and for discriminating, or they're just going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So
I like that you are, I mean, you wouldn't have written this book if you weren't optimistic that we can course correct. There is still time to course correct.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think anybody wants to go down the kind of road where we don't course correct. So I think we can. I think there's legal things we can do. We were just talking about some. Lawfare, I think, is one of the key things we can do. Folks like Stephen Miller at America First Legal, they're doing terrific work on this. I think we need to relook at our civil rights laws in some very fundamental ways. I think that there are things we can do with the census, where right now we're really encouraging a kind of flight from white. So if you can't identify as something other than white, you can't. So I think there are things you can do to kind of coalesce a new American majority. I absolutely think that this is solvable. I think there's a lot of non-white people who are like, screw this. This is not how we want to behave. And I have a lot of them who've endorsed my book, right? So I am actually optimistic that we can do it, but it starts with courage. And that's why I wrote the book, because I just was trying to arm people with facts and information in a dispassionate way to kind of make the case.
Sorry, Sarah. And it starts now, though, because there is time. And look, everything in life is redeemable. You can. Even South Africa, as bad as that is. But there, you're dealing with a group of people that's such a minority. Caucasians, under 3 million. Of 60-something million people, right? So their voice, you almost don't have a voice. No representation in government. There's still time, but this is a smoke signal to say, hey.
I'm so glad that you guys are on together, because I do think that in order to understand where this can lead, we do have to take lessons from South Africa and places where we have seen the pendulum swing way too far to the other side to course correct. So Jeremy, tell everyone where they can find the book.
Sure. So hopefully at your local bookstore, but of course, conservative books, you never know. So if you can't find it there, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, it's been out. It's got endorsements from Tucker Carlson and Charlie Kirk and the longest serving member of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. So it's gotten a lot of great endorsements, and it's been selling really well. So would love folks to check it out.
That's great. All right. The Unprotected Class by Jeremy Carl. We will be right back. Over in Florida, a truck driver was caught, driving over a mural, except it was a protected mural now, a protected class mural, apparently. Here is some of this. So here he goes. Uh-oh. He's going to rev the engine a little bit, do maybe some spinning. I'm not actually sure how trucks decide to leave tire tracks. Maybe one of you gentlemen, I don't know. But he does do some spinning, and it is right over that pride flag for those of you who are listening on audio podcast. Oopsies. Now, here's the travesty. Authorities actually say he could be charged with a criminal felony mischief, because it's going to cost them more than, $1,100 to repaint the mural. And they have to do that before Pride Month. I say he deserves a medal.
But they can burn the flag.
Yeah.
You can burn which flag?
The pride flag.
Which flag? The American, not the pride flag.
Burn the American flag.
Yeah. Give this man a medal is all I'm saying.
All that little drifting.